I have to say, this next block, up there with my absolute favorites. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tani rodaha. Nirodha. So where we've come from, just to rehash, is, okay, if we want to experience yoga, the remembrance of our true essence, which is where we find absolute truth that needs no validation from anyone or anything in the outside world, if we want that, and if we don't want to suffer, we want to get off the karma chakra, then we have to slow the mind down and make it stop completely. Otherwise, these things, the imagination, the sleep, the memory, the correct and incorrect knowledge, these things are just going to keep spinning, and we're going to suffer because of that. The only way to move beyond suffering is to move beyond the mind. So how do we do it? This. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tani rodaha. So Patanjali gives us the first strategy. This is where we start talking about practice. This is a practice manual. Let's talk about practice. So, abhyasa and vairagya. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam ta nirodha. This is how we make the mind stop. So this block here, 112, 114, focuses in on abhyasa, and then vairagya is the next block. So let's look at abhyasa. So 112 tells us this is how we come to nirodha, abhyasa vairagyabhyam. 113 says this is abhyasa. Tatra stitao yatno abhyasaha. Abhyasa. Tatra. It's like tatra. It's like that's the vibe of it. Tatra stitao. Stitihi. Ekagrata. Stita. Tatra stitao yatno abhyasaha. Abhyasaha. Abhyasa is the ardent effort to remain tatra. There. Tatra. There. There. Actually, let's make that an exclamation point. There. And then the next one can be where? I don't know where there is. It's there. Tatra. In what? In stitihi or ekagrata. The ardent effort to stay right there in single-pointed concentration, single-pointed awareness with your meditation object. That is abhyasa. Ardent effort to remain there, single-pointedly connecting in a non-distracted way to your meditation object. Whether it's a mantra, whether it's a flame, whether it's a concept, whether it's a symbol, whether it's the light and joy of the higher mind pulsing at the center of your forehead, whatever it is, stay there, man. Tatra, don't move. So this vibe, it's got Shakti behind it. You can feel it. This is Patanjali saying, don't be a lightweight. If you want to be on this path, mate, then you better pull your socks up, roll your sleeves up, and really get into it. This is not a path for those who are curious, those who want a little yoga holiday. Yoga is for the hardcore, dedicated, ardent, effort-making students. Because that's what it's going to take to grind this karma chakra to a standstill. It's going to take ardent effort, not half-assed effort. If we make half-assed effort, we're going to get half-assed results. Only ardent effort will do. This is also Patanjali saying, use a technique. You need to use a technique. He's saying, I use a technique. My mate Buddha used a technique. We all use technique, and we reach the states that we reach because our effort was ardent. Yes, it got to a point where we were able to let go of that level of intensity. But that was decades later. Decades later. Until then, it was hustle, man, every single day. You get up, you get out of bed, and you practice, and you practice, and you practice, because that's what it's going to take to grind the karma chakra to a standstill and penetrate beyond the mind and access personal truth. You want that? Well, then you got to work hard. You got to practice daily and systematically. So that's the next sutra is an extrapolation. So ardent effort to remain there. And then 114. Satu dirgha karla nairantarya satkara sevitu drita bhumihi. Practice should be done in a way that it is consistent, without interruption, and with reverence, which is the exact opposite of modern yoga. Exact opposite, where we have so-called yogis and yoginis doing drop-in classes, different days of the week, different practices. Monday I'm here at this studio because I like Sally's vinyasa classes. On Tuesdays I have a day off, I play some tennis. On Wednesdays I'm with Jimbo Jones doing some Kundalini stuff. I love Jimbo Jones. We're all over the place. This is the exact thing which Patanjali is saying don't do. Make ardent effort to stay there with a singular practice over long periods of time without interruption. So no days off, no Tuesdays off to play tennis, or if you want to play tennis on Tuesdays, go in the afternoon. But every single day, the same practice over and over for a long period of time and with reverence. We'll get to the reverence part soon. This is not about, bringing some kirtan and some bhakti into the end of your yoga practice. It's not that. Reverence. Patanjali is not very religious. Patanjali's time was a time of great religiosity. And there were so many religions that it's like, well, what, do I please God in that way or that way? Because what you're saying God wants is very different to that religion and that one and that one and that one. So Patanjali is non-religious. He's saying come back to your divine essence, because your divine essence is the only religion. That's the religion that takes you back to God, whatever you want to call it. Your divine spark, that's the only religion. Well, that's the truthful religion, is that Svarupa. Everything else is just book knowledge. So when Patanjali says practice with reverence, it's got nothing to do with God and everything to do with the spirit that we bring to practice. Reverence for our practices, not let's see if we can, bend ourselves into a pretzel today. So it's not yoga for fitness, it's not yoga for fun. It's yoga for personal spiritual evolution, as it was intended, as it was designed. That's reverence. The first part, again, here we have Patanjali 2,000 plus years ago talking about neuroplasticity. There's a concept in modern neuroscience called the kindling effect. The kindling effect states that when we perform an action 40 days in a row, the same action, the neural pathways that get created via the action become ceaseless and self-sustaining. As in, after we do the action for 40 days, the neural pathway, and if we kind of put this into a yogic context, we know that whatever we do with the mind, energy also follows. So as we shape mind, we shape prana. These two things always move together like two dancing butterflies. So the prana, the pranic pathways and the neural pathways created via any action, if we do the action for 40 days in a row, we own the action. We own the effects of the action, I should say, for better or worse. If we think about that in terms of practice, and this is why we are so staunch here at the practice, 40 days, 40 days, 40 days. You come and do a training with us, yeah, well, you want your certificate, go away and do 40 days practice. Same practice every single day. Then you're qualified. Then call yourself a yogini. Because practice is everything, but practicing correctly, that's a different story altogether. And so much of the yoga world isn't doing it. But Patanjali is saying, like the kindling effect is saying, if we do the same practice for a minimum of 40 days straight, no breaks, same practice, long period of time, the next bit in the sutra is without interruption. So no Tuesday tennis unless you're doing it in the afternoon, every single day. And then the neural pathway of the practice and the pranic pathways become ceaseless and self-sustaining. They generate themselves. They keep going. So if we're doing a practice to make the mind more stable and grounded, and we've got our asanas to do that, we have our pranayama to do that, we have our kriya meditation to do that, and we do that for 40 days, that experience of mental groundedness will not leave us after we stop doing the practice after 40 days straight. We will own it. It will weave itself into our DNA, into our cellular structure, and we will become a living embodiment of that practice. That's what Patanjali is saying here in 114. Same practice consistently, every day without interruption. Don't skip days. If you miss a day, go back to 1. 1 to 40 in an unbroken block. And it can be more than that. It can be 108. One of my teachers has been doing the same practice for 40 years. He's a powerhouse. He's a powerhouse. 40 years, same practice. What, we can't do 40 days? Because why? We get bored? That's the vritti. That's the incorrect understanding. Oh, I need new things, otherwise I get bored. That kind of thinking has no ground in reality. That's a mental program that will keep us spinning on karma chakra indefinitely. Yeah, but I need new things. We don't. We need the same things repeatedly that work and do the job of uprooting negative karma and getting karma chakra at least spinning in a positive direction so we have a better hope of jumping off it altogether. And then again, the last bit is, with reverence. Do it with heart. Not as a physical practice, not as a fitness routine, but as a way to evolve personally, spiritually, so that we can be a force of nature here in this world for the good and make it a better place to be in for all. That level of reverence. And it will do that if we do it correctly. There was a big yoga boom, and I've seen this here in Bali. Bali is one of the yoga meccas of the world. But it's here in 2024. It's not like it was in 2018. Then it was booming. Everyone wanted a piece of yoga. But now people have been practicing it for 5, 6 years, 10 years, and they realize it's not evolving me. Yeah, of course, because we're not doing it correctly. If we do it correctly, the way that Patanjali suggests as abhyasa, same practice, 40 days minimum in a row, no breaks, and with clear intention. I'm doing this practice for this reason, to make myself a more extraordinary version of myself. We're very clear on the intention. If we practice like that, it doesn't take very long to experience the truth that practice is evolutionary. But the way we're doing it at the moment, collectively, it's not even touching the sides. Not even close. And that's why not as many people, yoga's not the cool thing anymore. Not, people want to go do CrossFit or go to the gym, play, what's that game? Paddle tennis or something like that. They're everywhere here. You can't turn a corner without hitting a paddle tennis court or a CrossFit gym. And there's nothing wrong with those things. Absolutely great. But they're catching the spillover from disappointed yogis because practice hasn't been presented in the way that it should be presented. Abhyasa, tatra, stitau, yatno bhyasaha. Man, straight line. Stop getting distracted. Who cares if you get bored? That's the program that's keeping you spinning, bro. Pick the technique and go, 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 go. Let it transform you and then get a new technique and go, go, go. Same again. That's how we evolve. At least at the level of abhyasa. But there's one more aspect of this. It's not only abhyasa. It's not only this. It's also this. So let's check out what Patanjali means by vairagya. But when we do that, please keep this conversation in mind. Not just for the rest of this training, but for the rest of your life. Daily drop-in, random practices will get you nowhere fast. If you want to be a practitioner that milks the highest potential out of practice, then we have to do it the way the master says to do it. Okay. Pep talk complete. Let's talk about vairagya.